Hey guys, Verbal Engine 95, recording live from Will County Prison Cell. I'm on time, it's a Christmas miracle. Let's get into it. This fight is Sabertooth versus Nosferatu Zodd. Sabertooth from Marvel, specifically X-Men. Nosferatu Zodd from Berserk. This is another one of those fights that I saw a while ago, and I didn't really think much of it. But now that I've had it kind of explained to me and I've had some time to process it, I think it's actually really good. So, we'll get into it. So starting with Sabertooth. Sabertooth is pretty much the not the antithesis, but he is the like symbolic reminder of Wolverine's pursuit of humanity, right? So, and how do I explain that? Well, Sabertooth and Wolverine, in some incarnations, they're brothers, but Sabertooth and Wolverine were both in the Weapon X program together. And whereas Wolverine escaped and fought his way through and fought to become a better person, Sabertooth sometimes he escapes just to kill Wolverine. Sometimes he's sent on missions to kill Wolverine. Sometimes Weapon X collapses as a project, and that's the only reason. But he's never looking for self-improvement. He's always kind of embracing that animalistic killer nature. And boy, does he have it, because much like Wolverine, he has his enhanced senses. He has his regenerative healing factor that make him pretty much unkillable unless he drowns or gets decapitated. He has, unlike Wolverine, he has incredible superhuman strength, which has been augmented and enhanced several times over by Weapon X. And in some incarnations, he even has things like, an adamantium skeleton, which has happened enough times that there's some debate as to whether you would put it in the fight or not. He's fought some of Marvel's heavy hitters, not just like Wolverine, but he's also fought, Beast. He's fought the Hulk, though it never really ends well for him. He's fought Iron Fist and stuff like that. And even though this guy is pretty much an animal, he is a killer, a wild man, but he has hundreds of years due to his, lack of aging, or at least 100 years in most incarnations. He has 100+ years of, legitimate special forces training, or, espionage training. He's able to, he has a very sophisticated repertoire for being what is considered just a weapon, right? But yeah, no, this is a guy who, on Wolverine's birthday, murders 100 people and then rearranges their remains to spell happy birthday so Wolverine can find it. He is, a sadistic and, cruel killer who is bloodlusted by, to go and fight and kill Wolverine. He is just a constant reminder of this is what Logan could have become if, things had turned out differently. Next we go into Zodd, Nosferatu Zodd, very appropriate with Nosferatu coming out whenever it comes out. So Nosferatu Zodd is one of the demon apostles they're basically like a race of warrior demons in service of, whoever the head god is at that point. And unlike most of the apostles, Zodd has spent a lot of time in our physical world, and as a result has a huge legend behind him as the warrior who's slain 1,000 men. He's this this beast in battle. He's like a giant ogre. He's 10 foot tall or something. Wields weapons bigger than most people. Yeah, but unlike most characters of his type, he doesn't fight with malice or cruel intention. He basically just fights to have somebody to match his strength, just to occupy his time. He loves fighting and being challenged, and he's miserable that he is often the strongest opponent there is. Such as when he fights characters like Guts and Griffith who legitimately injure him, he's grateful to them. He's actually very respectful of them, and he lets some of them live. He regrets having to kill them due to the fact that they are in battle, that they are enemies. But that's part of the dark secret, because after, well, technically he does this before he serves Femto, but he is a demon after all, and he has a less human demon form, his released form, which is where he grows multiple times in size, he grows horns, and he grows wings, which allow him to fly. He's able to, his hand is like the size of Guts, basically, and he's able to swat him into a wall and nearly kill him. He's able to, kill people with a single, like, clutch of his hand. And he does become just a monster, but he does retain that same level of respect for his opponents. He considers having to go into this form like a privilege. Like, I found somebody worthy enough to make me need to transform like this. But in a weird way, because Griffith, after Zodd ends up serving Femto, Guts was pretty much just a weapon to Griffith. He was just an object to be owned and used as he saw fit. And if Guts hadn't fought Griffith for his freedom and hadn't, sought to seek his own purpose without the Band of the Hawks, it's conceivable that Guts may have ended up something like Zodd. He might have just been, if Griffith had succeeded, and Guts might just be a monster that Griffith sicks on people. So Zodd, even though he is very grateful to be allowed to fight Guts as often as he does, and he does come back many times to fight Guts, but he anticipates doing it, but he unfortunately is, it is just as a tool of Femto, even if it's in his own mind something he enjoys. So how do we break down this fight? Well, getting back into it, Sabertooth is incredibly strong. Not quite to like Hulk thing, maybe not even Colossus level strength, but he is able to like flip cars and whatnot. He is able to tear people in half or literally tear them limb from limb. His claws that he has, and they're not like Wolverine's claws. I really should have covered this back in the character analysis. But, he is able to like rip people apart with his just fingernails that he has. He can even bite through bone. However, I definitely think Zodd is, stronger, especially when we take into consideration his released form. The other thing I might have forgotten to mention is that, well, I'm really all over the place here. While Zodd is a demon that exists in the physical world or occupies the physical world a lot, he is still, he does exist on both a physical and metaphysical plane, and he is able to just regenerate or reattach his limbs to undo any injury, unless he's harmed on a metaphysical plane as well, in which case he can't. Which is why Guts is able to hurt him, because Guts' Dragon Slayer's sword has bathed in so much demon blood that it exists on the astral plane. But unfortunately, Sabertooth doesn't have an ability like that, so we've got two very hard to kill and regenerating opponents. Sabertooth absolutely has the speed advantage, because he is, a deceptively agile, predatory character. He can even lunge through the air like silently. If this fight were in like a woods environment or something, he could use that to his advantage. I would assume it would be, because you'd have to give both characters the opportunity to use their full skill set. You wouldn't just want them fighting in like an open battlefield or something. But and Sabertooth is, deceptively smart, and he is, an excellent like hunter. So if we consider that, maybe that can give him, he's an expert at using the terrain to his advantage. But, if we give him that, maybe he has some sort of advantage over Zodd. But Zodd generally, I would say, has more strength, arguably more durability. The speed advantage is kind of nullified by Zodd being able to fly. And yeah, I mean, the only way that Sabertooth can really kill Zodd would be just to completely tear him apart and stop him from putting himself back together. And Zodd has an easier said than done, but a pretty clear-cut win condition here, which is just decapitating Sabertooth. Like, it wouldn't be easy to do by any means. It would be, this, like I said, this fight would be a bloodbath, and both of these characters will have more of themselves splattered on the floor than they will, than they'll have pieced together by the end of it. But this will be a but I think Zodd has too many advantages over, and not necessarily just statistics wise. I mean, there's an argument as to whether Zodd can actually even die without his metaphysical body being harmed. So it's arguable that Sabertooth might not be able to kill Zodd. The only way I see Sabertooth really having a chance here is if we include the adamantium skeleton. That might not necessarily... Now, here's the thing that always bothered me with the adamantium skeleton. They talk about being able to cut each other's heads off or whatever. Well, if your skeleton, if your vertebrae are covered in adamantium, an indestructible metal, how are you cutting through that? So I guess that technically does make him, his head can't be cut off then if he has an adamantium skeleton. But still, even then, like, maybe just through war of attrition, if Zodd can be killed, we can see Sabertooth eventually win. But yeah, and that's like a continuity thing. That's not even something we can like assume, like Zodd being able to die, we can assume he can die by conventional means, right? Because nothing says he can't that I'm aware of. But it would just be very difficult to do. Sabertooth specifically has to have an adamantium skeleton. So pretty much I'm going to go with Zodd on this one. Now, I know that's kind of risky going with the Marvel character, or not going with the Marvel character, rather, because, comic books, so he's probably lifted a planet at some point. But, yeah, and I mean, especially when we consider going into his demon form, that's just a completely different animal at that point, literally and physically and figuratively. So yeah, that and plus, like, being able to fly and whatnot just gives him a completely different mobility. Yeah, I think Zodd pretty, I don't want to say comfortably, but I think Zodd has a much higher chance of winning this than Sabertooth would. But like I said, this would be just a good death battle to watch, because both of these characters are just badass, bloodthirsty bastards who, even though they kind of take different approaches to it, really have a lot of similarities going on, and I really think that's cool. But anyway, happy holidays to everybody. Hopefully I'll get something done next week. Verbal Engine 95. See ya.